Right, so I need to speak up because we're recording it and it's in the microphone. All right. Hi, everybody. Well, thanks for coming. Get a wave on the back. I decided to lure you in with some Back to the Future theming here. I hope it works. It's an idea I had. All right. I like to make this not just AI because we're a bit. Who is sick of Copilot? Thank you. Yeah, right? It's if you use anything Microsoft, it's just like we have Copilot stickers. We're gonna slap it on everything. Have you noticed there's now Copilot in your Word paste function? Yeah, you paste stuff and it goes, "Would you like help with that?" It's like Flippy all over again, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're all a bit. So I promise you, I won't say Copilot too many times because that's not what this talk is about. Okay. I wanted to more touch on all the ethical parts as well, not just that. That's just part of it. Which is why I kind of came up with a couple of questions to start with, sort of. What'd you do to it? Why'd you break it?
I don't know. That's what I do.
Nope. Right. Okay. Well, maybe I'll just click on this. There we go. And because the ethics part of AI is a really interesting conversation, and there's never a right answer or a correct answer or a correct answer, right? It's often to do with, well, it depends, which makes it a really interesting debate. And I would really like you to think about some of these things as we talk about stuff today, because it becomes part of your job if you ever decide to do anything with AI, which is highly likely considering you're here. Such as what ethical responsibility comes with shaping our future with AI. Now, I don't expect you to answer it right now, obviously. But something like that is what starts impacting businesses. Because when we talk about AI between us as nerds, we go, "Oh yeah, man, like ChatGPT, woohoo, we can solve everything," right? And then we forget about the whole business side, the whole human side of things, and it's a really important part of it. So there's a part of that to this talk. By the way, it's the first time I'm doing this talk, so you're at Attendees. And the other question I came up with was, how do we unlock AI's potential without sacrificing our core values? Because a lot of companies now are slapping AI on absolutely everything. And there's very little attention to where that data is coming from, how it's impacting people, and a whole lot of other stuff. Top of mind for me is biases. Is a huge part of AI for me, because what is the material it's trained on is absolutely going to influence the output that you get. Right? So some of those things, I'll keep coming back to them throughout the talk if I remember, because I might get a bit too much involved with tools. But this is a talk about... we'll get to that AI Foundry. So, hi, I already did some of this. I'm Lars, I work for Arcana, which is my colleague Ryan here. I'm the employee in Victoria. There's two of us, and Ryan is the employee in South Australia. So we're like, yay, people! Because we always work from home. I'm Microsoft MVP, which means Microsoft gives me lots of stickers. It's an award that you get for contributing to the community. I like talking to you guys, but it's not. Like, you get it because you do stuff you love. It's not some shoot as such. And I run a YouTube channel. That's my latest video. A lot of talking about AI, right? Sorry, for AI. Yeah. If you like networking, if you like killer robot, if you like robots, I do a lot of that. Smart home, farm automation, stuff like that. Anyway, that's a completely different aside. So, it's like, oh yeah, what are we talking about today? So I just want to sort of outline what my intentions were, and we'll see where we end up, because it's very fluid. I hope you all interact as well, and you have some thoughts and go, hang on one. That's what makes a good talk to me, is when you have this interaction. So first of all, let's talk about AI Foundry, which I'll get back to in just a second on if you haven't heard about that, what it is, and why we're talking about it. I want to talk about this is going by a team, so I click the button and it takes like 2 seconds. Models, which you all have heard about, right? AI models, that's not a big deal. Agents, there you go. Agents within AI Foundry specifically, which are sort of a new-ish. That has to be qualified. New in AI is like yesterday. New-ish is within the last month, and old is anything older than a month, right? That's how fast it goes. But yeah, we talk about agents because if you ever decide to use this tool, agents are freaking awesome. We're going to build something-ish, kind of, on how this all works together, and then I want to show you how you can test it as well. So that's the plan. Yeah, that's right. So again, I'll lured you in with. Does anyone not like Back to the Future? Good. Okay, otherwise you can leave. So questions, I love questions. Interrupt me, put your hand up, shout out, whatever. I don't mind. Questions are good because it means you're listening. And we can get some sort of discussion, and I might even learn a thing. That would be nice. So questions are good. Always ask questions. If there's something that doesn't make sense, if I get something wrong, just let me know. Work-ish. It worked better when there's not. Okay, so I want to talk about some of these ethical considerations. Because, okay, yeah, just make sure that problem now, I can't see my notes. Hang on, 1 second. I can because I do this thing. Okay. So part of it for ethical reasons is this concept of transparency, which I sort of touched on before. Where's the data coming from? Is it transparent? So when you start using an AI product or a service or whatever it might be, do you know where the data is coming from? So we look at ChatGPT, for example, everybody uses ChatGPT, and you can't really tell where the data is from, right? Which is why there's other AI services that are similar, that get a list of references to where this data is coming from. So I like transparency. I like knowing where I can find more information about this data that it may or may not just be done. That's the methods. Originations are still very real. Do need notes for this, sorry. Yeah, as I said, and now this one. Not going well. There we go. Biases, right? Biases is just massive. It's so difficult to get rid of. It could be biases for all sorts of things. It could be cultural biases. It could be biases based on race, on gender, on profession, on all sorts of things, depending on who has written the thing that is trained. Right? Biases are really difficult because as humans, we do. That's how we make educated abstractions about the world, is we use biases so we don't have to process absolutely everything. Right? So when you meet someone for the first time, there's certain biases that go in, you go, oh, this person also works in IT, you have biases about what that means. Like, it's just a normal human process, it's completely fine, but it becomes a problem when we have like the source of truth that everything is informed by. So biases, keep that in mind, is a really big part of AI ethical problem. That still didn't do it.
Don't like quicker.
No, it's because I'm not on the screen here with this, because I've switched to the notes.
Right.
Anyway, we'll get there. And then, of course, security. I like talking about security because often we hear about the pillars of cloud computing. Does anyone know what those are? Pillars of cloud computing. What are the pillars of Azure cloud computing? Network and storage. Right? You need those three things. Otherwise, you can't have a cloud plan. I argue you need a fourth one, which is security. Otherwise, you've got nothing. Same with AI. You've got to have security in there somewhere because otherwise you build a product and then it goes wrong. This is not. Yeah, I'm gonna see. This is why I'm using you as guinea pig so that next time I can do this differently. So here's AI Foundry. Has anyone heard of AI Foundry on Azure? 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah. Has anyone heard of AI Studio? No, because it's the same thing. There was a AI tour in Sydney. So have you heard of the AI tour, which is like this conference they put around the world? Join, it's free to attend on the day. They did the one in Australia was in Sydney in December, and I volunteered as an MVP to go and help out. And I was 5 hours on the AI Studio booth, basically answering questions. The week before, I checked my schedule and it says, "Hey, you're on the AI Foundry booth." I'm like, what the hell's AI Foundry? Yeah, they just renamed it. I didn't tell anyone. So thank you. That happens a lot. So AI Foundry is not a new tool, it's a new name, but it has expanded a lot. Come on in. You're good.
How are you?
You're good. How are you? I wrote this. This is not even AI generated. I wrote this because I wanted to explain to myself what AI Foundry is. So, AI Foundry is a comprehensive abstraction layer built on top of numerous Azure tools, which we'll get to, and services that empowers organizations to orchestrate AI applications in a seamless, configurable, and secure manner. Right, so that's the first sentence. It is a way. It's an abstraction on top of an abstraction. It's what we do is we extract things to make it easier. This is the same idea. So AI Foundry is an abstraction of a whole bunch of tools working together to become one thing that you can use easily, right? And then it says it streamlines the entire AI development lifecycle by integrating data processing, model development, and deployment pipelines, while also embedding robust governance frameworks to ensure responsible AI practices and ethical innovation. And I'll kind of show you all of this as we get to the demo. And stay on time and find something. It's told to be on time. This is, I don't know, it's not short, but it was as accurate as I could make it. And I think it works. So again, I'm happy to be wrong if anyone has an opinion.
Yeah, you think there was some reasoning behind a change in the reframing the terminology from a studio to a foundry?
Yep.
That's why, because it's encompassing
100%.
more. Studio implies just the tools.
Yes.
It's more about
Absolutely. It
frameworks
wasn't,
and practices.
they didn't just come up with it out of the blue. There is a reason they changed from Studio to Foundry. You're 100% right. My issue is that they went, hey, we've got this new product called AI Foundry. And it wasn't. And they didn't tell you, right? So instead of going, hey, we're just renaming it, so what you knew is still good. We're just expanding it, and then that was never communicated. So that was fine.
They also at the same time rebranded it, even the sub tools underneath it. Like everything just go ripped down.
Yes. Microsoft is really good at renaming things. Anyone use Intro ID?
I was just saying that. I was literally marking the Azure AD and then,
Teams.
oh my
I
god.
use Office 365 Business Premium.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I have like
So-
Purview, whatever.
Purview, yeah.
Yes.
This-
I think as well.
it's just the Windows Phone to Windows Mobile, and then the Windows Mobile to Windows Phone, then back to Windows Mobile, and then anyway.
What's Copilot called this week?
Yeah,
Because
what's that?
that's been through like 4 name changes.
Copilot, has it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was Microsoft 365 Copilot, then there was Copilot for Microsoft 365, then there was
This area,
Microsoft Copilot for 365. I don't know. There's been like 4 names.
they actually made a publicized effort to rename everything under the one Copilot
Yeah.
branding. Though that's the one time I've seen them do that. Is
Yeah.
that like even we know
Yeah.
we made a mistake.
Until next week. I can all talk on naming things, especially. Anyway, that's one of my favorite things about Azure, since this is an Azure meetup, is the naming. Azure VM is the VM, Azure Storage. Like it's 85-90% of it actually is what it says it is on the tin.
Yeah.
Then we have Cosmos DB and Front Door, and there's a few exceptions, right? But in general. But I like that. I'm happy to evolve it, whatever. If you think it's not quite clear, let me know after the talk, especially. Okay, let's talk briefly about agents, and I am going to, there's not that many slides, right? It's not all slides. I'm going to show you the tool and things will break. It'll be great. Agents are basically RAG++. You know what RAG is? You heard of that? So RAG, I can never remember what it's short for. Retrieval augmented.
Something.
Exactly, right? Retrieval. That's why I wrote it down.
I got corrected on that at our December meeting because I got it wrong.
Retrieval augmented generation. Did someone say it? No, I just heard it. Anyway, it's ChatGPT basically, right? So the idea is with RAG that you take something like ChatGPT and you train it and you get something else that's more accurate than before, right? It's sort of like that on steroids. Okay, so if you had the idea of RAG in your head and then you think, oh, but it can do a bit more, that's not completely wrong. The reason it's so cool, we'll get to. It's one of the new things I really like about AI Foundry. It's pretty simple. It's an abstraction of many things, but it's super simple set up, and I'll show you exactly how simple it is. It's super powerful. It will be in a couple of months, I suspect. It's a bit better like that. We'll get there. Comes with a bunch of tools. Both tools for setting it up, but also tools that you can use an agent. That's neat. At the end, we might talk about agentic AI. If anyone's heard about that. Okay. Oh, heard of it? Yeah. Okay. That's we're getting into crazy killer robot territory. And then it's secure. And that's one of the reasons they've done this is that it's simple and it's secure. That's sort of the main reason that Azure or Microsoft has come up with this tool, an agent within AI Foundry. Secure as in, actually I'll show you, that's probably easier, but it does a lot of stuff for you under the covers in terms of linking up issues. And Okay, so here's just what I had in mind. Let's see if we actually get to it. But we're going to talk about some models. We're going to set up a model, which is, we've done that before. We'll talk about an agent and how that uses that model and what it does. We'll look at some code, not a lot, but it's kind of simple. And then we'll see if we can test it. Okay, that's my plan. And it worked last night in the test, so let's see. Went through it. But let's have a look. And I'm going to stand up here now because I'm going to use the computer, right? So, 1 second. Okay. What's that? And okay. Share. Come on. That should come up. Hey, there we go. Okay. So this is AI Foundry. It's on ai.azure.com. So that's pretty easy to remember. And it's sort of a hierarchy. So initially you set up a hub. A hub is essentially the same as an Azure machine learning workspace. They're pretty equivalent, if not exactly equivalent. Sure. Then within your hub, you can have projects. Projects are individual sort of working items of projects. But the idea is that you can share things between the project or between users of that hub. That's why you set up a hub, it's like working. And then within the project is where everything happens. So I will show you here, make sure I got everything ready. Yeah, so the hub is what manages your network, your storage, your resources, your authentication, all of those things, which goes through Azure Machine Learning Studio. In fact, here is the resources for that hub. Over here, oh, wait, one too many. 1 second. It reloaded and it lost it. Hang on a second. Make it a bit bigger. Okay, bunch of where'd it go? Organize yourselves. Oh, there it was. Got it. Oh no, go back. Okay, so this resource group here is what it's set up. So what it's created is it's created Azure AI Services, an Azure AI Hub or Machine Learning Workspace, an Azure AI Project, which is what I've got for Scott. It's set up a key vault, it's set up a storage account, and it's set up an event grid system target. I don't actually know why that's there. Again, I don't know everything about this because it changed yesterday and it'll change tomorrow. But so there's a whole bunch of services that get set up, all managed through Azure AI Foundry. So you don't actually have to manage this as such, but they're just Azure resources on your account, right?
How was it result of create hub?
Correct. Yeah, well, the project is here, right? So, but the hub manages, I'm sure there's a virtual network somewhere underneath here as well, that it just hasn't shown. It has to be. But yeah, that was the hub that sets all that up. I'll just go back over here. So in here, I'm just going to choose, I have a few that I've been testing on, right? I'm going to go to Great Scott. And, yeah, so in here, there's a few different sort of overview. This is what Microsoft thinks you need to see. Can you actually see that? Was that tiny? A little bit tiny? Nice. Because it's, oh, and then it does that. Okay, hang on. What if I do that?
That's
Better now.
That's good.
That's good.
Is that better?
More a contrast issue with the black
Yeah.
and blue.
Yeah, okay. I like dark theme. Because I usually sit in a cave with no light, so dark theme is good. So here's what I've set up. There's some models, there's some connected resources which we saw before as well, which are the same ones as in the portal. Well, they are the same ones. But if I wanted to, well, now I need this bit here, I guess. Okay, but anyway, we can go to this model here, for example. Why is that not? Oh, let's just. So it's changed the I promise. This menu here was different yesterday. So now it's-
I'm looking at it thinking it looks different.
Jeepers. Yeah, okay. Let me just see if I can actually
Bit of A/B testing going on.
see if I can make this. How do I get this change?
Maybe if you go to projects, I'm thinking that might.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's it. That was there yesterday. Anyway, we keep going. So there's a whole bunch of menus here on the side. I kind of want to go through them one by one because they all do different things and they're all part of the pipeline of this sort of idea of creating a project or deployment inside of AI Foundry. There's an overview of the project here. You get some endpoints. I mean, hopefully this is just, does anyone think this is weird? This doesn't make sense? Feel free to say so. Otherwise, I'm going to gloss over it. That's all I'm saying. You get an API key, you get an endpoint where you can connect to it. And so if you have a service, whatever, you can use it, right?
Can you show us what that API key looks like?
Yeah. It is 64 dots. So that's nothing special, right? Now we have a model catalog. If you have not seen AI Studio or AI Foundry before, this is all AI Studio. This is what it used to do, right? It used to be a studio for looking at models and setting up LLMs, etc. And it's still here. It's still part of it. But there are 1,831 models that you can choose from. So it's not just ChatGPT. It's not just OpenAI. In fact, there's this one. Have you heard of DeepSeek R1? Exactly, right? Now I think personally, this is Marsh going, look how clever we are. We already have it in here. It's fun. Okay.
You didn't know they had massive security breach over the weekend. Just checking.
Go for it.
Can you add your own models or where
No,
find what they've got?
you find by what's here because it's part of the security, part of the curated thing. So you only get the officially insecure ones, like DeepSeek. No, you can't add your own rules, but you can put, as I'll show you, can retrain them. But you can train them all with
Fine tune.
fine tune. It's the whole RAG thing. That's why I said RAG plus plus, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot. There's a lot of them. I don't know what most of them do, if I'm honest. They've tried to sort of go, oh, these are chat completion. This is an audio generation, text classification. So there's a bit of a hint on what things are, but there's a lot. And there's pages and pages and pages of them, obviously. So if you have a specific one you like, you can choose that.
So what goes into the decision process when faced with this? What model do I use? What do I take into consideration when evaluating which one should I use? Should I just use OpenAI's latest and greatest every time? Sure. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, why would you?
Yeah. Why would I use one I've never even heard of called Tizumi 7B, for example?
Oh, you never heard of Tizumi 7B?
No.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's quite a few things that you need to consider, and they're always different. It's one of those it depends questions for my answers.
Yeah.
So, okay, do you have a specific purpose in mind? Is it healthcare related? Is it general? Is it only for finances? Like, those things can influence which one you might know. And I don't know which one.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't expect you to have the exact answer. This is just what I'm thinking when I.
Yeah, but that's a good question. I appreciate that because you could also be, okay, but I need something that runs really quickly. I need something I can run locally, so it needs to be under 2 gig or whatever. Like there's many different kinds of considerations that you want.
Are there cost implications depending on the model?
100%. Right. So if you choose one, let's just choose one.
So I know they're all different sizes. With
Yeah,
different
not
parameters.
all of them give you a price, but let's see if we choose the Together Computer GPT-JT.
It's a classic.
It is classic in every way, and that doesn't have a price. I think let's just go with OpenAI.
It pops up and it tells you what SKU, and then you get a price.
Yeah, there we go. See pricing, so you go somewhere. But it has all different kinds of information about the model. It may or may not be enough for you to make a decision. But this one is supporting languages. So there's a lot of different considerations. And I'm not an expert on what you should choose when. I just don't know. But there's a fair amount of information about which one of them. But let's say we chose GPT 4.0, which is sort of like it's a 2 generations ago model of OpenAI or something. You have here $4.38 US per 1 million tokens. Are you familiar with the experimental token? Roughly a word, give or take. OpenAI in general are the most expensive because I don't know, brand name, I'm not sure. So you can estimate cost based on that. Once you're happy with it, it's as simple as going deploy. Right? You just click deploy, and you have that model as a deployment, and you can use it, which is nice, right? So the whole idea of using AI Foundry is that you set all this up, and you test it, and you train it, and you do all this stuff, and then you use it in your app. But this is not the finished product that we're creating. So a lot of tools on Azure, not all of them, are not end user tools, I'd argue. So if you have AI services, you have your facial recognition, your custom vision, your speech recognition, and your sentiment analysis, and whatever it is. All of those are tools for you to create your product. That's my opinion. But I don't think you would go, I'm going to sell sentiment analysis one-to-one on Azure. But you need to incorporate something. It's the same idea here, but you're creating a whole pipeline of this model that you can keep releasing over time. Your version of it, you can train it more, etc. So it's sort of, that's why it's so powerful. Okay. Let's go, I'll get back to Playground. I've already deployed a service because it can take a little while, so I'm not going to stand here and wait for that. Azure AI Services is pretty much just a link to Azure AI Services, right? It's if you go to the Azure portal and you go to Azure AI Services, it's very similar to what these are, right? It's just a different way of creating them because Microsoft is trying to, well, I think, again, I don't have any insights just because I mean, you don't tell me anything, but Microsoft really wants you to use these in different studios. If you're creating I don't know, health insight, they want you to go to the health studio. Right. If you're doing sentiment analysis, they want you to be in the language studio, etc. So AI Foundry is one of those that isn't called studio anymore. So that's just what those are. If you ever look at these AI services. Okay, I'm gonna let's talk about agents. By the way, so I have here the overview. I have, come on. Sorry. Models, back. So I can see my models down here. There's my assets at the bottom. And I already have a model deployed, which is the GPT-4o Mini. So we'll just use that for the couple of examples, right? So when you deploy a model, it shows up in your own resources. So the agents, this is the interesting bit, I think. One of the interesting bits. I have one here called Doc. That's why not, Doc Brown, you know. Agents, as I mentioned before, is a way of combining things, and under the covers, there's a whole lot going on in terms of linking resources on Azure and setting up security and authentication and all those other things. I found a whole blog post series on authentication in AI Foundry because it can get quite complex. I'm not going to go through it, mainly because I couldn't really what the guy was saying in the blog post, but also it's just be mindful that authentication with your AI Foundry resource and your agent can get a bit tricky. Once you've created an agent, so if I click new agent, you can see here, it just creates an agent, right? There's nothing magic special about it, and you can rename it. I'm just going to delete that again. That was another bug yesterday. Every time I went to the agent screen, it created a new agent for me. So it's not like 16 agents, but they fixed that now apparently, so good. This is very new. In here, you have an agent ID, which is an ID, nothing special. Give it a name. And then here there are the deployment, so you can link it to a deployment. I only have one right now, which is not working. Come on. Sometimes I have to refresh the page because it's new. It breaks. Let's try that again. It does say preview. I just always want to see those preview things. It's like, it feels like a cop out. Like, does anybody have Gmail? How many years with Gmail in beta? So you could complain. It's a bit like, just do it. Come on, man. So we have here the deployment. Now it's active. Yay. So if I had other deployments, I could choose that, right? You link an agent to a deployment. So the agent runs off your model that you have then deployed. That make sense? And then you give it some instructions. So I've written in here. Actually, I didn't write that. I did get a chance to write this. You are the temple navigator and advanced AI time machine with Azure AI Foundry. Your role is to guide users through time by providing authentic historical insights, etc., etc., etc. You give it some context about what it is, right? Of course, this is a bit silly, but you're doing it. And there's nothing unusual with that. You can do that before. You can do that when you train a model in AI Studio. It's not nothing special. This though is, so we have these two settings here. We have knowledge and we have actions. And this, I think this is really cool because of the potential. As you'll see, there's not much yet. But you can add a knowledge base. As it says here, knowledge gives the AI a data source to focus on. Agents are limited to supporting a single instance of each type of data source for now. So right now, there's only those three. Right? But
One's not available.
that's because of the model I've chosen. Yeah, so yeah, that will be available, but it is available. But you see how much room there's for activities? I'm sure we're more. But you can have files, you can upload files about what its knowledge base is, or you can use Azure AI Search, which is quite cool actually. If you haven't used that, it's one of the services we use the most on AI, or Azure AI, is the search. So I'll maybe show that next. I was talking to Ryan about this yesterday. We've done basically a chatbot for WA Transport. So if you go to WA Transport, you can go and you can chat with the thing and it's contextual to the WA Transport resources. So you could use this model with that AI search that we have for WA Transport.
Isn't AI search, isn't that the fundamental part of the RAG?
Yes.
Because that's where you effectively pointed at the data and say, index this and be the results.
Which is probably what's there because it's low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
So, but I think this will improve. This will increase. There might be other models you can use for data because you're trained or whatever.
There's a bit of a hint on the button when if you close
There was?
Yeah.
Which button? If I close this?
If you close that down, you can see they've got SharePoint.
Ah.
They've got
Nice. So there's Fabric, there's SharePoint, there's Bing, and there's Azure AI Search, right? So yeah, thank you.
that would be cool.
Have any of you used Fabric? No? Good. It's really hard. Fabric is a Microsoft's attempt to combine a whole bunch of different data sources into one source of truth, right? And depending on who you ask, it works better or not. SharePoint, obviously we all love SharePoint. Anyone SharePoint developer?
Yeah, rocking.
Good. Anyone wants another job? Now, SharePoint's still widely used, but it underpins a lot of things. A lot of like OneDrive for Business or something is still SharePoint, right? And of course, I appreciate that. So knowledge, that's one of them. So you give your agent the knowledge, not the model, right? Big difference. And then there's actions, and you'll see this is a plethora of options. Have a look at that. There's one. But you can, for now, put like a code interpreter as a tool. So I suspect, were there any hints on that button?
It was.
It was.
As a function.
As a function.
Yeah. See? There.
Yeah.
What is that one? That's
That's
just
just
code.
XML, right?
Yeah. It's soap. I don't know what that icon is, that CD with an arm on it. There's functions, there's logic apps, and there's functions.
So that's, yeah, the FX, I don't know what that is.
Is that like that power effects that powers that Excel?
Azure Functions is the I one.
Okay. But it's,
That's functions and logic apps.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew those two. Because I was, my thought process was you can absolutely build your action. Like, that makes total sense. Excuse me. Because why would you not? Like a logic app. Or,
The demos they did in December around building stuff. Was it build? No, what was the one where they announced AI Foundry?
AI tour.
Anyway, around it. Yeah, they had examples with using Azure Functions and stuff.
Yeah, right.
So,
Okay.
I don't know what's needed to
For some
unlock.
reason they have.
Maybe it's a model thing again or something.
But I mean, I'm showing this even with one thing because I'm really excited about this. I think this has massive potential. Because again, remember the agent is different from your model. Like you can build many agents for the same model. Right? All your agents could be different, doing different things, and security and evolve integrate. All those things are done for you. So that's why they've created the agents because they give you so much power. Although right now we can do that. But there's a code interpreter as a tool. We could add that to the agent, right?
So what is code interpreter then?
So code interpreter.
So despite that fancy image, none of them are actually available yet.
Oh, despite the little icons. No.
So they're not available.
Correct.
That's
So I might be on a different subscription that don't have access. I don't know. I mean, this is because I'm a Microsoft Azure MVP, I get an Azure sponsored account. Because
I just
lots of people
subscription. Is that what your subscription means? Oh, it's an Azure subscription.
Yeah, sponsorship. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. So they give me credits to, I can't use production stuff, but click all the buttons. Please try and break things. Kind of thing. But that's the code interpreter. So it says use code interpreter to read, interpret information, data sets, generate code, create graphs, charts, and stuff like that. So you can feed it data.
You can see.
Oh, I know.
You can change the color of the CSS.
Everybody codes in JPEGs. But I'm just just you can read them, whatever's on it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of neat because you can then give it specific code examples that are, useful to your code base or whatever. And then that becomes a tool rather than a training data set, if that makes sense. So you can use it as a tool to know things. It's all about context, right? So I consider it local files or I can just save it. I guess
So I guess it would be like your. Sorry, I am trying to say it as well. So the functional one would be like JS. I think it's JavaScript or something, right? Like, so you give it an example of like how to interact with the API.
For example. Suppose up to 25 we don't want. Use code to read and interpret information data to generate code, create graphs, and chart. So you give it the data that you know, and then you can ask it about that to create things.
Okay, so I guess the JPEG one is like a template of like this is the bar graph that I want. Make it with this data.
Yeah, in-out one.
I think at Builder, whatever it was, the example that they had was integrating in Azure Functions. So you can have a chatbot on your e-commerce website, and you say, I want this jacket, and then you say, okay, order it for me.
Oh, yeah. And I saw that. I had that demo.
And the I guess the action from that was it triggering an Azure function to actually place an order and do various bits and pieces. So it's like adding a function onto your chat. So you can say, do this, and it then calls that function and goes and executes that code. So rather than it just being your chatting, it actually has actions that it can take.
I think the purpose of that demo, the demo is, Seth, who is one of the developers from Microsoft, has built this online shop for outdoor camping equipment. It's all fake, it's all AI, obviously, right? But the idea is that you can navigate the entire shop using the chatbot. Oh, show me tents that go with this backpack or whatever. Oh, that's really good. Have you got it in red? And then, just because of a bit of a, because part of this demo, he got someone to show Chinese to it, and then understood that too. So it's sort of the whole lot of different services and features and functions goes through this one agent. That is for that website. I think is that fair? Is that what he was getting at? It's a really good, if you can look it up, it'll be somewhere. You can actually download yourself. I have it open because I thought we might talk about it. It's here on GitHub, Azure Samples. I think this was the one. Yeah, this one here.
Yeah, that's
All right.
So it's same as the tooling. This tooling was a concept in RAG, so you can plug in calculations and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah. But now
I think this is trying to go beyond that
Yeah.
of separating out. Yes, the idea of the agent is that you can build your own agents and your own mechanisms that basically connect in and enhance your chat with your LLM with the model.
without having to train the model.
Yes.
Yeah. But if you are interested in this, go and find this, talk about this from Seth Warres from Microsoft. It'll be online somewhere, I'm sure. I could probably find it afterwards. Do you send out notes after or anything like that? Or you can post it somewhere?
Oh, we can put it up on the.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's very polished. It's typical Microsoft, like it's golden path demo. But it gives a good example of what you can actually do with it. So,
Because I had the Bing integration with looking up an address as well in that demo.
I'm not sure this one I saw. I think
That's
it's
the one I saw.
Yeah, right. He might have done it differently a few times. I'm a bit facetious. I like when Microsoft demos go on because they never have it back up because it's so well rehearsed, right? And then something goes away. Go, oh right, it's acting up today. And let's quickly get the next preview. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, preview.
Here's a video I recorded earlier.
Yeah, which is fine too. Like that's okay, right? And then of course there is temperature and top P, which are ways of making a model or an answer to the LLM more or less predictive, probably. Right. So one is the most probable you can get out of something. I don't know exactly the difference between top P and temperature, to be honest. Controls randomness for temperature, and top P similar to temperature. This controls random, but uses a different. Yeah, okay, different. I'm not exactly. It's just
Same, but different.
it's one of those things where they go, yeah, you wouldn't understand anyway, so they don't tell you. But you can adjust these to how random you want the engine to be. I think they've dialed it back. It used to be if you put it at like 0.1, it would be properly weird. But they haven't. I think that doesn't exist anymore. They don't let you do that. It was quite funny actually, because it will just have and then go to the shop and then random word, just insert it because the probability of that word was low enough that it would be included. But I think they've stopped doing that. So that's your agent, and we can then. Let me just think. Okay, let's just go to Playground here. So you can try this out. So I've now given it a few things, given it some instructions, etc. I've got an LLM that I've chosen or a deployment. Then you go to the Playground, and you can actually chat with it. You can test it out, right? That's what Playgrounds usually are for. So remember, this is what it's supposed to do. So I can ask it things, and this is just like ChatGPT, obviously, saying, what would the world look like if humans went to Mars? Right? Just something. Now, if you do this yourself, very often you'll get a max error for tokens or something. Very often you get that. I'll show you in a second just how to fix that because it throws you off and it's not obvious. But here's the answer it comes up with. It's long. Dear traveler. Right, so I've given it some context. And then there's a whole answer here about what it might be. And it's about a time machine because that's what we're building, right? But it gives you that really nice vibe in this context, right? So that's not something new. It's just that you can now add tools to it. You can add these data sources to it. Now let me just show you, see if I remember where I found it.
It shows you how many tokens it's used as well, just to give it context.
Yes, good point. Good point. Up here, 645 tokens. So this is how many in, how many out. So I gave it 163 tokens to ask that question, and it provided me with 482. Because that becomes important when you have to pay for it, right? So sometimes you want to give, that line answer is way too long, so you want to adjust whatever comes out of it. You can do that in how you encode talk to your model. But just for the nerds, here's we can get a JSON. Oh, did not change it. That used to just change it and show you the JSON response, but it didn't. Okay, I'm not going to run it again. But you can get the JSON response as well. Now, in here, see if I can remember where to do it. It's the management center. Models. See. If I remember this was correct. Come on. There you go. So if you get that error, and I have it like the minimum is like 10,000, it still does it, even though it said it was 680 something. You get this error going, no, exceeded max limit. You go, For what? Right, you look everywhere, all your limits, you start requesting increased resources and yada, yada, yada. It's just this. Right, I just went full ball with maps. So tokens could be. Hey?
I lost the to it.
Yeah, exactly. It's really painful. And there's like one Stack Overflow answer from like a year ago that tells you where it is. Everything else is like contact support. And So if you ever do that, this thing here under your managed resource management center, go to your, where was it? Resource models and endpoints, edit it, and then find that. Right? So that just keep that in mind.
So what was it set to before you tweaked it?
10,000, I think it was.
But you've only hit 645, right?
1,000.
So is it actually buggy then? You're saying? Or-
I don't know.
Right.
It doesn't say anywhere. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know why they think you're set to 10,000. I'm pretty sure it's 10,000.
Yeah, I'm going to take the guess.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that when you're using the agent, the stuff you're seeding it with, that wasn't included in those tokens because,
Not 10,000.
well, that's 1,000.
But you-
No, I said it was
but you-
10.
Oh, yeah, no, but also I've had the minimum set to 1,000, and when you're giving it a small at the start, it like I was asking about water quality, like that's the one that floats around our car and one of our defaults. I hit it immediately before I even sent my prompt.
Yep.
So, because that 600 whatever tokens look pretty low.
It's very low. So let's just go back to the playground.
That was a big response for 600 tokens.
I know. So here's the same agent, right? Doc, still doc. Yeah, there's still the same instructions.
It's only saying 0 token, right? Fucking yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done. There's
Is
no,
it running tally?
no. Well, not that I've seen anyway. But you can go to in the Azure portal, you can go to the resource and see your spend. So there is a way to find it. I can't remember exactly what I wrote, but something like, what would happen if humans went to Mars? I think I wrote slightly different. And then he goes, oh yeah. Then it generates response, and it'll probably work now, just to make it full. Get that?
So definitely more than 600 tokens.
Right, can you go try again in whatever?
Yeah, 24 hours.
24 hours. Yeah.
That's why I was like,
Well, I did the first request for one. So if you get that, now hopefully you can remember because I couldn't yesterday. I had a vague recollection of where to find it, but yeah, hopefully you can find it. Now I'm gonna have to go back and do it again.
I waited 24 hours.
And nothing changes.
Then when
Nothing.
you ran it again, you got it again?
Oh yeah, straight away.
1,000 tokens is nothing.
So you've got to do. I don't know how much is enough. And because I'm not paying for this resource, it's a sponsored one. I just don't like that.
It's,
Yeah,
it's only a rate per limit. It's not an allocation or anything. It's just to stop it from like if you leak your API key that you don't just get like destroyed by people chewing up your credits.
Yeah, yeah.
Online.
I understand it exists.
Yeah.
But it's a rubbish error message.
Yes.
And it's incorrect. So it's fine. Anyway. Bit of a rant there. Nope. Nope, we're going to be here for another hour. I knew this would happen, but I hope it's okay, because it's a good discussion. I want to I'm going to go a bit quicker now, because this was the interesting bit. The agent to me is what really you want to know about. There's lots of code examples and stuff you can work with. The cool thing here is that you can actually run this directly in the browser. So you can set up a virtual machine here, which I have, which is here. See if it'll, okay, I'm not going to reload it because it probably won't work. But you can run VS Code in the cloud, in the browser, right? Have you seen that? Code spaces? Yep. So VM is spun up on your account in the background, and you can then run VS Code on that VM with your code. And it's a really cool way of making sure you have all the dependencies because you can obviously preload all those. You can do that too here. So there's a bit of an instructions on how to use this because it doesn't give you much code. But it does configure it to use your specific agent instance when you do that. So that's a really good way to start. You can also launch it locally in your own on your own machine if you want to. So that's just a neat thing where all the innovation that Microsoft is doing, and a GitHub for that matter, sort of comes in and actually makes other products better. To me, Codespaces is a fantastic invention. It lowers the bar for everybody to be able to run code, launch code. It's super. You can run it off Chromebook, right? It doesn't matter where you go. So yeah, very cool. Fine tuning. is where we can fine tune our actual model, so we can give it more data. So you can do a generative AI fine tuning. I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between the two, but for an AI service fine tuning, come on, there it is. You can set one up for the model that you have, or the deployment model, sort of the same thing. And you can then add data sets, which could be plain text. This specifically is for speech. As you can upload audio or just plain text, and you can train it on how to speech, like how to talk about it. Anyway, speech to text, text to speech. So I'm not going to do that, but there's a fine tuning, and there's, depending on what model you choose, there's different ways you can fine tune your deployment. And then you train the model, you can test it, you can deploy it. Right, so that the deployment is within AI Foundry, so you get another version of your deployment that you can then target from your agent or from your code or wherever. Prompt flow I'm going to gloss over because it's sort of on its own, doesn't really relate to everything else. Tracing says preview. All that does, still important, is you connect an application insight resource to your model, to your deployment. That's it, right? Which is good, because is anyone here a developer, like write code? Yeah? Anyone of you not use application insights on Azure? Good. It is a fantastic resource. Like, it makes your life so much easier. And it costs very little, and it just collects all the data you need to debug things. So that's what tracing is. Again, I don't know why that's preview. That doesn't seem to be a lot, but anyway. Okay. Evaluation is evaluating your actual solution, which I haven't done, but you can create a new evaluation where you can evaluate the data or the model results. To be honest, I haven't gone through this, but I'm not entirely sure where that ends up. I just didn't get that far. But that's the way that you can test it, both with that and with the fine tuning and with the tracing. And then, of course, I want to get to this because we were talking about ethics to start with, which I kind of forgot a little bit in all my memory. But the security, safety, when they say safety, that is the ethics part of it. It's like, how do I make this safe or ethical to use? There's a whole bunch of checkboxes when you deploy these things. You have to say, yeah, I promise to adhere to the ethical standards of something. Azure has that everywhere as well. That's the vision with AI. But this is where this part of it is where you set up content filters, for example. So we can create a new content filter. And yeah, I'm just going to select connection. And there's all different kinds of content filters, right? So yes, this is partly ethical. It's also just good to do, right? But you can actually set up your own filters. So of course it comes with default ones from Microsoft. They're not idiots. But if you have specific things that you really want to prevent, there's those different ones, and you can upload text and images and stuff like that. Seriously consider that. Like, whatever project you're doing with these AI things and agents are great, whatever, seriously consider what the impact is of that end result in terms of safety for the user. Because I know, especially, middle-aged white male, quite privileged in IT, that's no secret, but that makes me think more about, okay, well, what am I not aware of? What are the things that aren't important to me but would be to everybody else? It's really important that we pay attention to those things. Cool. So I could set up a filter here. And because I've zoomed in, we can't see all of it, but there you go. So you can set these thresholds to high, for example, or you can upload. See, you can do, this is just based on text and media. There's a block list. Let me just, I can't remember what this is. Okay, profanity. There's a custom part of this which I can't find right now, but you can absolutely set up your custom filters for content if there's something specific. Right. I think that was it. That was all the notes I had. Questions or comments or anything on this? Is this something you can see used for example? It's one of those tools where you go, it does a lot, but is it relevant? Because it's not storage. It's much more than storage, right? So no one can use this on. Great.
Yes, I'm interested with the ethical part. Are you able to extract it, for example, so that people like risk clients, which that's where I'm heading. Like that's kind of the method.
Yeah.
They can actually analyze the data and make sure it's compliant, or maybe add things
Oh,
like
can you see the filters? What you're asking?
yeah, and then you can sort of audit it if needed, and then let's say maybe you can have
Not the building ones, not that I know of.
Are you talking about after or during the build?
well throughout the build and
Because I think the evaluation and stuff, that's what you can go in and test. I think that's what they've got in there.
That's-
I think in evaluation, I think it was
Under
just directly above there.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can do risk and safety checking and that sort of thing in there. I saw that. If you cancel that, you'll see down the bottom there on the right, risk and safety check. So I think you can go through and run various examples that you can go and put in various prompts and that sort of thing that you think people might enter, and you can see how it will react to it. Almost like a playground, but I think it's more designed specifically for this type of thing. So,
you
like,
can't really see what are
No, you can only see the.
I don't think,
so,
I don't think, like, it, because it's AI, it's making it up on the spot. There's no kind of defined rules of this is what it'll do if you say this. I mean, I think you can build in your own.
because like for example it says I don't know because I'm not wearing my glasses so it's very blurry, but I can see there is like different settings.
Yeah.
So how do you quantify the settings?
Well, I think it's, well, I don't know.
I think I can probably.
Well, hang on, it says it's severity scale.
There's one other option though. So there's one called content safety, which I think they haven't put into the Foundry. So if you look for Azure content safety, there's a separate API which you can plug into your agent. And
then
then
you can extract the data.
that actually gives you a dashboard of like what people are putting in and how much like bad stuff that are coming through. And then, yes, that actually has a dashboard. But that's a separate product that you can incorporate into your flow.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
specific.
It might be other than AI services actually. These are good questions.
I think it sits outside. Yeah.
But is it not in here? Here we go. Look
Things
at that.
like
Yeah,
like
that-
laws, IT people, like compliance people,
Yeah,
risk,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, so
They're
content
not
safety
really-
is the one that-
Moderate text content there.
Yeah.
Those are separate services. That I haven't done this, but I assume that when you set this up as a service, you can incorporate that into.
So these are like individual like sub APIs.
Yeah.
So consider so that the content safety stuff is a suite of APIs that you can then plug into your agent. So I think what you see on the agent one is some filtering on the agent itself, but then you can add more protection by calling these
And then you can
APIs.
extract the data
Yeah.
of that.
The content safety definitely has a dashboard. Yeah.
Well, it's more like can you create a report based on
Yeah.
that and then give it to someone?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sounds like
This is purpose built for content. Yeah, because I've done this. Yeah.
Yeah, you said wrong.
Because, I mean, I didn't build an agent, but I plugged in the content safety to an application,
Yeah.
so I can automatically scan like images that people are uploading in and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
but this has nothing to do with agents, but you can make use of this in your agents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these AI services are standalone services, and you can plug them in. I think you can plug in all of them. You're wrong. But your agent is basically the one that you use as an endpoint, and then you configure here what that deployment means. Like, what is the agent using, what tools are using, what data set, how's it trained, etc.
Because as Simon was saying before, like you can actually call other services, other Azure functions, other APIs from your agent. So you can make the agent smart enough to make a decision as to it needs to go out and call the API.
The thing about it is also what a lot of people in compliance and risk they use AI tool to actually analyze like things like privacy data and all different compliance and the extract data from it. So I was thinking maybe we can create an agent and then that agent as an
Yeah, maybe. But I understand kind of what you're saying, that you want to see some more of the raw data that's being processed and what's coming in and
No,
out.
it's not for me, it's more for people who is not part of the IT or tax department. They would want to see those definitely, like the audit department.
I'm sure there's a way.
So one way that we do it at Arcana is we do have in front of the AIs, or the AIs, so we did something like API management, the Azure resource, and that captures the interaction, and then you do filtering based off of whatever So like we use it for routing to different models, but you can
Yes.
all your traffic sitting that. You're building in whatever logic you want to filter based on keywords, whatever. Like, yeah, like so that's like one layer that you can solve before it even hits the model.
But we want the output of that. I think that's what you're saying, right? Is
Yeah.
We want the output of what that decision is.
Yeah, so you kind of build the agent that is specialized, like AI agent as well.
Yeah.
There's lots of those regulations. We like nobody can have time to read through all of this.
No,
I can see them. Yeah.
Yeah, so something like so with API management that integrates with app insights, and then you'll be starting to get a bit more of like a bird's eye view of what's actually going on, like how many are getting failed, how many whatever. Like you can start building layers in front, depending on the exact need of what you're trying to do.
I think it's technically possible. I just don't know if it's possible with the.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe not yet. Maybe not yet.
not yet. Could be.
Because I think that's probably more and more what
Yeah.
the direction would be.
And it's incredibly important.
Yes.
Like anything that has to, because we can all make the chatbot do a thing, right? It's not difficult. But can we make it valuable and not make the world a worse place? Right? It's yeah, I agree. I just want to briefly touch because you kind of touched on this thing. Have you heard of agentic AI? There was one dive before, yeah, which is I think is the next thing. Well, many things. That's the next thing. Basically, an agent that is run by AI. So don't think of this as not this kind of agent, but something that can perform tasks. I think that will come into this. So you can tell, like, I'll create a website like the one over here, but maybe more about this product, and then do a market research on this, and build me a business plan, and then set it up, and then this whole path of what you want it to do, and it just goes away and does it. That's the. Are you doing that?
No, have you seen Auto GPT?
Yeah.
That's that.
That's like a crude way of doing it.
Yeah, that was a old school way now.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, just if you want to know what's next, agentic AI seems to be.
What about when Elon Musk buys OpenAI? Does that do the ethical?
I think they're already going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's very
Now
good.
it's-
No.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I don't. I'm not sure OpenAI is what we look to for all of this. I think there's a lot of smaller companies that are much better placed. The problem I have is that a lot of these AI companies go, like, no, we have what do they call it? Like we have an internal, whatever they call, like a police almost, right? It's ethics, but it's also other things as well. But I'm like, it's like when mining companies say like our product is the best ever, it's a revolution. Like you said it yourself. Like we need someone else to police all this, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll understand. I'm not sure. OpenAI is good. I mean, they've pushed everything along, but I don't know. It's catching up. Everything's catching up.
What's, pardon the ignorance, what's groundedness?
What are we looking at?
Groundedness
Groundedness.
detection, yeah.
Grounded is if you have like the model I just did, right, with Doc as a futuristic time machine type thing. Grounded is keep within that sphere of knowledge or information. Don't start sort of your own tangents. You're grounding the model to within a specific topic or knowledge phase or area. So I guess the groundedness protection is detected as ungroundedness.
Right, yeah.
How they do that, I'm not sure. I haven't used that service.
Is it like to fight against AI hallucinations?
Maybe
Effectively what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's a service. It should just work.
Shouldn't that be auto configured?
So sometimes I think they look at it like we did before. There's one thing, oh, we need at least 4, otherwise it looks stupid on marketing material. That doesn't make sense. I think there's a little of that.
Still ingredients.
Still better. Still be better.
And then next week there's another part of it. Oh, that'll be preview. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I don't have much more. Someone's going to kick me out of it.
I'm not going to kick you out. The Microsoft staff are going to kick
Yeah,
you out.
true. You have people for that.
Yeah, that's right.